mankind faces extinction. Trolls once ruled the mightiest empire this world has ever seen. Yet look at you now. Zul'Gurub has already fallen to the scourge. Its gods consumed as death descended on its people. Zul'Farrak, once the shining jewel of Tanaris, is now nothing but a wasteland. Divided, you are weak. But we, Zandalari, can offer you a future undreamed of. Jindo of the Gurubashi, would you see the greatness of Zul'Gurub restored? Join us, and the Zandalari will make it so. Dakara of the Amani, summon your followers to Zul'Aman. Together, we will make Zul'Jin's murderers weep for mercy. Brothers, hear us now! We Zandalari have returned to reclaim the former glory of our people. To see trolls retake the lands that are rightfully ours. And to crush any foolish enough to stand in our way. From the wreckage of the Cataclysm, the Troll Empire will rise again! Vol'Jin of the Darkspear, you would turn your back on your own people?
The Horde is my people. If it be war you bring, then I stand against you.
So be it, Darkspear. But against the powers we'll soon unleash, none shall stand for long.
So there's quite a bit to talk about. But, can I just first and foremost say, man, I love Vol'Jin. Right there is a shining example of why Vol'Jin is awesome. The Horde is my people. His loyalties weren't to whatever his race was. It was to his family, which was the Horde. It's like they said in Pandaria, Horde means family. The Darkspear are fiercely loyal. And Thrall and the Horde earned the Darkspear's loyalty in Warcraft 3. And nothing, not even I believe that was Rastakhan in that trailer. Yes, Rastakhan from BFA. Though obviously his character went through some change from that trailer till BFA. So, but, yeah. Also, Zul had some, hand in all this that was going on. But anyways. Yeah. Vol'Jin's awesome. And I love him for it. But there's quite a bit to talk about in regards to what we're about to do today. So, we're about to go through Zul'Gurub. Now, to clarify, and I did kind of mention this in the Zul'Aman video. We're going to do obviously the Cataclysm version of the revamped heroic dungeon of Zul'Gurub, where quite a bit of change has happened in here from how it used to be back in vanilla. For those of you who don't know, this actually used to be a raid back in vanilla. In fact, at the time of this recording, they recently released in WoW Classic the Zul'Gurub raid, which is the 20-man raid version of this. And I will be talking about and referencing what this place was like back in vanilla, or maybe I should say WoW Classic, but really I'm just going to say vanilla, just for historical context and perspective, compared to what it's like now. And I mentioned in the Zul'Aman video that while a good chunk of Zul'Aman was basically the same as it was back in Burning Crusade, a lot has changed in Zul'Gurub from how it was in vanilla to how it is now. And one of the first and foremost things that I need to talk about in order to give some understanding as to why we are here, what's the big point of why we are here, not just here in Cataclysm, but why we were here in Vanilla, and to what exactly that thing was you saw at the end of the trailer. How many of you are familiar with the Loa? I would imagine if you have quested through BFA on Horde, you would now have a pretty good idea of about the Loa and what they are and who some of them are. But there's another that we have encountered before, and he is, if you thought Bonsandi, the thing is, Bonsandi isn't really evil. He's, he is kind of sadistic and kind of a jerk, kind of an a-hole, but he is also, I wouldn't exactly call him, like, evil, kill puppies. I've never really seen Bonsandi that way. Hakkar, on the other hand, that's a whole different story. See, if you think Bonsandi is evil, no, not in comparison to Hakkar. Hakkar he's messed up. Like, really messed up. Now, Bonsandi is the supposed Loa of death in BFA. I say supposed because, well, there are some different theories as to that and some evidence contrary to that. However, there is also another Loa, which I thought we may see, and that was Hakkar, who is the Loa of blood. And, well, if you know anything about the Loa, you can understand why that's kind of a big deal. So let me elaborate a bit more, because before we talk about Zul'Gurub, we have to talk about Hakkar, because that's part of the big reason why we are even here, for both versions. So just to give you guys a bit more lore about Hakkar, and who he is, what he is, and what is his connection to the Gurubashi are, and what's going on here. So the origins of Hakkar remain unknown to this day, and there are no mentions of him in any of the Titan records. A foolish troll long ago attempted to summon Hakkar on Zandalar many millennia ago. While his attempt was stopped, it led to the breakout of a plague of corrupted blood, which tore through the Zandalari Empire, killing thousands of trolls, and leading to one of the most terrifying periods in the island's history. Around 1500 years before the opening of the Dark Portal, the Gurubashi trolls, driven to desperate ends because of famine and terror, which were commonplace within the broken troll kingdoms, sought aid from ancient mystical forces. The troll kingdoms shared a central belief in a great pantheon of primitive gods. Just to give a bit of extra context, the primitive gods are usually pretty much the Loa, such as Razan, if you remember from BFA, the Loa of kings and queens, who is one of those, considered to be one of those kinds of primitive gods, or forest spirits. In fact, many consider some of the forest spirits that the druids serve, like Cenarius, to actually be a Loa. Oh, wait, no, I lost my place. And the Gurubashi fell under the sway of the Darkest One. Hakkar, the Soul Flayer, a vile, bloodthirsty spirit, heard the trolls' call and decided to aid them. Hakkar gave his secrets of blood to the Gurubashi and helped them extend their civilization across most of Stranglethorn Vale and certain islands of the South Seas. Though he brought them great power, Hakkar wanted more and more for his efforts. He filled his adherents with murderous rage and reveled in their dark emotions. The carnage that invariably followed Hakkar suited him perfectly. For having consumed blood, he had developed a taste for it. Worse, he became more powerful as he consumed the blood shed in his name, and his tie to the world that was feeding him grew stronger. The bloodthirsty god demanded souls be sacrificed to him daily. He dreamed of gaining access to the physical world so he could devour the blood of all mortal creatures. You starting to get an idea as to why we had to come here and basically stop him? There are plenty of Loa, and a good number of them are nice. We met several of them in BFA, if you were questing as Horde. The Alliance basically has nothing related to the Loa other than when they go into the Baldazzar lore raid and have to fight a few of the avatars of Loa before they face Rastakhan. But anyways, And then some are not so nice. But Hakkar is probably the most sadistic and evil of them all. Hakkar enjoys seeing people be flayed alive. He enjoys that. He enjoys watching, either watching souls get tortured or just torturing them himself. He enjoys that. That should just give you an idea as to what Hakkar is like. Yeah. In time, the Gurubashi realized what kind of creature that they had courted with, and turned against him. The strongest tribes rose up against Hakkar and his loyal priests, I hope I pronounced this correctly, the Atholl. I hope I pronounced that right. At first, the Zandalari trolls on the Isle of Zandalar were glad for the fellow trolls' prosperity. However, as Zul'Gurub continued to expand, the Zandalari's pleased surprise turned to disquiet. They consulted myths and delved into historical accounts. What they learned horrified them. Hakkar was also known as the Soul Flayer, a name that he had richly earned. The Gurubashi Empire was already in a state of civil unrest due to the numerous sacrifices that Hakkar was demanding. With the Zandalari's news, the jungle trolls banded together with the Zandalari and rose up in open revolt against the bloodthirsty Soul Flayer. Don't worry, we're going to get into this, for instance, I'll show it off to you in a bit, but we have to discuss this to give it extra context of what's going on here. The terrible war that ensued between Hakkar's followers and the rest of the Gurubashi tribes is spoken of only in whispers. The budding empire was shattered by the magic unleashed between the angry god and his rebel children. Just as the battle seemed most hopeless, the trolls succeeded in destroying Hakkar's avatar and banishing him from the world. Even his Atholl priests were eventually driven from the capital Zul'Gurub. After his defeat, the various troll tribes of the jungle began battling each other, and the Darkspear tribe left the continent and settled on the islands known as the Darkspear Islands. Though the Atholl priests were defeated and ultimately exiled, the great troll empire buckled in upon itself. The exiled priests fled far to the north into the Swamp of Sorrows. There they erected a great temple to Hakkar. For those who are curious, it is... So, here at the bottom of the Eastern Kingdoms, here's Stranglethorn Vale, and this is where Zul'Gurub is. If you go over here, in the Swamp of Sorrows, just right over here, is this dungeon right here. It's labeled the Temple of Atholl Hakkar, and this is where we even fight an avatar of Hakkar, along with Jamal and the Prophet, and some of the green dragons. And this is something that some people speculate on may have possibly had to do with the Emerald Nightmare in Legion, but anyways. Yeah. Hakkar was notorious for demanding sacrifices from his followers. Many millennia ago, he instructed the Atholl to bring him forth his avatar, using blood ritually drained from the living victims to feed him. The Atholl priests now seek to raise Hakkar's avatar with a modified version of this ritual, one that involves sacrificing green dragons. If the Atholl succeed, the re-emergence of the Hakkar's avatar could spell doom for Azeroth. But we'll get to that in a separate video in my Soloing Dungeon series, just to give you some location context there. They erected a great temple of Hakkar, where they could prepare for his arrival into the physical world. The great dragon aspect Ysera learned of the Atholl's plans and smashed the temple beneath the marshes. To this day, the temple's drowned ruins are guarded by the green dragon to prevent anyone from getting in or out. However, it is believed that some of the fanatical Atholl may have survived Ysera's wrath and recommitted themselves to the dark service of Hakkar. Even centuries later, only 18 or 19 years before the Dark Portal opened, some of the Gurubashi would continue to use Hakkar's blood magic, especially in their war against the humans of Stormwind. Because since, after all, Stranglethorn is just below Elwyn. The Vile Branch tribe of forest trolls far to the north in the hinterlands also worshipped Hakkar. Vile Priestess Hex sacrificed people to him. Dark vessels of his tainted blood radiated the foul magic of Hakkar, woven by Vile Priestess Hex, empowering the Vile Branch and also driving them to madness. The green dragons that had been left by Ysera to guard the temple of Atholl Hakkar had succumbed to another force, the Emerald Nightmare. The descendants of the Atholl returned to the sunken temple to find that its guardians were disoriented and vulnerable. Both the nightmare and the trolls dragged the dragons down into the depths of madness and corruption. In firm control of the temple, the Atholl began their gruesome rituals to summon Hakkar into the world. The Atholl's spiritual leader, Jamalan, had what he called a prophecy. He believed the summoning of Hakkar will bring the Atholl immortality. A green dragon named Itharius called for help from the Cenarian Circle, who in turn sent an alliance force to cleanse the temple and put an end to the Atholl's efforts. So in lore, the alliance are the ones who go into the dungeon and take care of it. Oops. Yahinka tricked adventurers into taking an ancient egg from Jinfa Alor and infusing it with the essence of the defeated avatar of Hakkar into a filled egg of Hakkar. Prospector Ironboot revealed that Yakinya wasn't about to keep the world safe, but to bring the god Hakkar back. When confronted to hand over the egg, the troll laughed that it is too late, as Hakkar has already reborn in Zul'Gurub, and the adventurers helped bring the Soul Flayer back. And I believe this then leads to the vanilla version of Zul'Gurub, where now we have to go in and stop Hakkar. The Zandalari trolls were shocked to learn of the attempt to summon Hakkar in the sunken temple and believed the Loa's return would herald a dark time for trolls. They were pleased to hear that the Atholl had been defeated in the temple, but their relief soon turned to horror. Some of Hakkar's adherents survived, and they were continuing their quest. In time, the Atholl priests discovered that Hakkar's physical form could only be summoned within the ancient capital of the Gurubashi Empire, Zul'Gurub. Unfortunately, the priests met with success in their quest to call forth Hakkar. Reports confirmed the presence of the dreaded Soul Flayer in the heart of the Gurubashi ruins. In order to quell the blood god, the trolls of the land banded together and sent a contingent of high priests into the ancient city. Each priest was a powerful champion of the primal gods: bat, panther, tiger, spider, and snake. But despite their best efforts, they fell under the sway of Hakkar. Now the champions and their primal god aspects fed the awesome power of the Soul Flayer. Any adventurers brave enough to venture into the foreboding ruins had to overcome the high priests if they were to have any hope of confronting the mighty blood god. The Zandalari knew that they did not have the resources to scour the Atholl and their leader, Jindo the Hexer. We'll get to him later. From Zul'Gurub, they sent word through the Darkspear tribe that the Horde needed to act immediately, for Hakkar, being successfully summoned, would throw the world into chaos. A large Horde strike force was sent to Zul'Gurub in turn. The Horde charged into the temple city, and though they killed the priests and Jindo, they were too late to stop Hakkar's summoning. Manifesting as a force of death and insanity, Hakkar poisoned the blood of the Horde's champions and tried to drag their thoughts into absolute madness. Yet it was Hakkar's own power that proved to be his undoing. In desperation, the Horde forces allowed themselves to be poisoned and then let Hakkar feed on their corrupted blood. I like how it's using the mechanic from the boss fight in the raid back then to actually be the in-lore reason as to why the Horde players defeated him. So the Alliance are the ones who went to the dungeon and stopped the Avatar, whereas the Horde in lore are the ones who went into the raid in vanilla to stop this. Okay. Be pointing in corrupted blood. In his frenzied state, with every thought filled with the urge to consume blood, Hakkar paid little heed to the tactics of his seemingly harmless enemies. He was unaware of the poison entering his veins until it was too late, and in the end, Hakkar was consumed by his own dark magic. After the Soul Flayer was defeated, his cursed heart, the still burning kernel of Hakkar's power, was brought to Molthor in the hope of that the Zandalari trolls would know how to destroy it. The heart was banished. That's why the Heart of Hakkar is actually an item that drops from the vanilla version of Hakkar in the raid. So now that we've talked more about Hakkar, and the next portion talks about Cataclysm, which I guess I can read the initial portion just to give you guys an idea of what's going on here. Several years after the defeat of Hakkar and Zul'Gurub, the Atholl in the Sanctum of the Fallen God have recovered a significant portion of his skeleton and seek to restore Hakkar back to life. Already his children have begun to show up in the area. Although the avatar of Hakkar was once again defeated in the Sunken Temple, the Atholl transported most of the blood that they produced to Zul'Gurub, where the Akkari worked to summon the blood god there. Meanwhile, the vile branch tribe of the Hinterlands has left Hakkar in favor of Shadra. Meanwhile, Jindo recovered the body of 2 high priests, Vanoxus and Jeklik, and then enlisted the aid of Zanziel, the outcast, to resurrect them in the service of Hakkar. Though adventurers working for the Zandalari trolls Maywiki and Chabal attempted to stop both rituals, they only succeeded in destroying Jeklik's body. It's unclear exactly why, but Jindo required Bloodlord Mandokir to summon Hakkar, while Mandokir required Olganaka, the daughter of Olgan, his closest and most trusted friend. Sometime later, the Zandalari trolls under Zul, remember him from BFA, united most of the tribes and aided in restoring Zul'Gurub to its former glory for the purpose of rebuilding the old troll empire. They hoped to use Hakkar in order to wage war on the other races of Azeroth to save their kind from destruction. And that leads us to here, and why we are about to re-enter Zul'Gurub once again. So, I will be going over that as we go through the guide and read the text that it says about each one. But just to give you guys some extra context here, I looked up stuff about how it was back in vanilla. So the main bosses back in vanilla, the way that this was set up was that there were 5 priests that you had to deal with. Jeklik, Vanoxus, Marlee, Thekal, and Arlok. There were also 4 optional bosses that it lists off, which were Mandokir, Jindo, the Hexer, Gazranka, and the Edge of Madness. I'll talk more about Gazranka and the Edge of Madness somewhat as we go through here, just to kind of let you know, like, how they were changing things for this when they revamped it for Cataclysm compared to how it was back then. Now, what I found out is that apparently back in vanilla there was a hard mode version of this raid for Hakkar, where the reason you were that was considered required to beat those other bosses, because apparently you can just go with the way this place is laid out, because the physical layout of this place is basically the same, but everything inside is different. I'm realizing that we're almost half an hour in and we haven't even done this yet, but there's a lot to talk about here. So, if you're wondering, there is a hard mode version of facing Hakkar. If you did not take down the priest, because you could just go straight to Hakkar, but if you didn't, he would be even stronger. And this is not the first time that they've done this, where you had to take on other bosses, otherwise the big final boss was going to be even stronger. So, if the high priests around Zul'Gurub were not killed before Hakkar was, he was granted several powerful abilities, which combined to make the fight nearly impossible. In addition, he gains approximately 50,000 health per priest that remains alive. If you did not kill Jeklik, he would get 1,200 to 2,000 AoE damage, plus an 8-second silence. If Vanoxus was still alive, he got 800 damage poison to the raid. If Marlee was still alive, he got a 6-second stun against current aggro holders. And there was additionally a complete aggro reset prior to patch 1.12. If Thekal was still alive, he got Frenzy, which increased his attack speed by 150%. And if Arlok was still alive, he got a 2-second Gouge, which was aggro wipes the main tank. This was considered the hard mode and a nearly impossible feat to do, which is why I find it kind of hilarious when they released this for WoW Classic, and within the first hour, a group just went straight to Hakkar and killed him. But I'm just going to leave that alone, because I don't want people who love Classic or Vanilla to come after me for daring to speak negatively about this, or to not speak positively or whatever. So, anyways. So that is how it was back in vanilla. You had to go through and take out the priests in order to weaken Hakkar, And then you would have to take down Hakkar himself because, well, yeah, if we just left him alone, he would have probably tried to just kill everything on Azeroth just to feed his bloodthirstiness. So, yeah. Anyways. Now, what do you say we actually go through this, in actuality? Now, I am here on my priest because I was trying to figure out a character that I had that could be able to, to not have to worry about any of the mechanics that could kill, while also seeing if there's an ability I have that won't instantly kill these guys. So, I'm thinking my smite might do the trick because it only does 5,000 damage. For context, she's only 419, so she's not that strong. Not really. So you have to make sure that you are swapped to heroic, otherwise it just simply will not let you enter because this was heroic only. So, Zul'Gurub. And yes, the music from Zul'Aman is here as well. That... Yeah, I just love that music. So anyways. So, right off the bat, there are a few different quests here that you could get. There's also a, over here you can see there is a helpful jungle monkey. No, seriously. There's also a repair vendor, so that you could get some provisions, repair your gear, get some food, like stewed rabbit, roasted beef, stuff like that. Just stuff to be able to, get, some food and such. So there's several quests in here.
Don't be shy.
She points at the temple in the distance, which is right over... Well, you can't see it because of all these trees in the way, but it's supposed to be right over there. When Jindo was last ripped from this world, he survived as a shade, weak and broken in the spirit world. But Jindo always had power over the spirits. One by one, he broke them to his will. And with each soul devoured, Jindo got closer to ripping a hole to this world. To be here now, the spirits be with us. We must end Jindo.
You be careful, man. Hey there.
The Gurubashi trolls gathered their most powerful allies to rebuild Zul'Gurub and to retake Stranglethorn Vale. Chief among them be two monstrous trolls, Kalama the Mover and Morlek the Dismantler, and the powerful soul stealer called Mortax. They don't be leaders of the Gurubashi, but killing them powerful minions gonna help us prevent the rise of the Gurubashi. Yeah, there's a number of mini-bosses in here.
Stay away from the voodoo.
Let's see. So those are like a couple of the main quests here. There's one more in here, though, but I won't be able to show it to you. See, the thing is, there's an optional thing in here, and it's only possible if you have archaeology.
Hey, how you doing?
And it's this right here. Listen, friend, I don't know you, and you don't know me. But as long as we're both here, there's something that Rebelgaz wanted me to mention. Maybe you're taking a stroll through this troll-infested jungle apocalypse. Maybe you happen to find a priceless troll artifact or two. Maybe you bring it back to me, and I accidentally leave behind a little present for you. If you must know it's for a project, then no, you can't ask what the project is. So yeah, the Cache of Madness. So I mentioned there were some optional bosses back in vanilla Zul'Gurub, and it's no different here. There's a couple of optional bosses I want to mention. One is the Edge of Madness. They basically replace it here with the Cache of Madness. So the way it works, right over here is the Cache of Madness. So you have to go over here, and then there are things that you have to survey using a fully leveled up archaeology. So you had to have someone who had fully leveled up archaeology in order to then get it going, which then spawned one of 4 optional bosses. And it was just random. It was either Hazara, Wusale, Grilek, or Renataki. So it's totally optional, and like I said, it required archaeology. So the idea here is that we have to go around and, just like in vanilla Zul'Gurub, we had to take down the Guardians to prevent the final boss from getting super powerful when we confront him. The other ones we take out, the weaker the final boss will be. So that was kind of the idea, because it was the 5 priests. Here it's the 4 Guardians of Jindo, because Hakkar is not the final boss of this, sort of. But we'll get there when it happens. So immediately right off the bat, yeah, there's also this optional stuff here, this voodoo pile. This potent pile of voodoo witchery emanates strong mojo. You get troll tablet. This was part of that kind of thing where Blizzard was like, hey, let's have this optional stuff. Also, I want to mention Gazranka. So it'll give me a second here. Let's first go through the initial part here. So right off the bat, we get an optional, or not an optional, it's a mini boss right here. This is a Venomancer. So she's watching over this cauldron, because you'll notice there's a huge amount of, well, actually, what is with? So back in the day, this was a lot more visible, but I guess with my with the updated graphics or whatever, it made it harder to visually see, because the green poison cloud is there, but I guess with the better graphics, it's harder to see now? Anyways, let's test out my smite. Okay, it's still one-shotter. Oh, this could be bad. Like I said, I wanted to come in here with a character weak enough, or with an ability weak enough to be able to pull this off. So, in order to avoid all that poison damage, you had to drink from this cauldron here, which gives you a buff that is Toxic Torment. Nature damage is taken is reduced by 90%. Yeah, this area right here. So you had to run through here. So this is what I'm talking about. Down there, you can see the lost offspring of Gazranka. Yeah, it's like a 3-headed Hydra. To give extra context, there was another dungeon that you can do back then called Zul'Gurub. This place here. And I've been doing this since I've been leveling characters during this big XP buff that's been going on. One of the bosses in Zul'Gurub was Gazrilla. Get it? Yeah. So this was Gazrilla. So I imagine that Gazranka was basically the same thing. Like that, right there. So that's kind of the point. There's various different lost offspring here of Gazranka, because Gazranka was an optional boss in Zul'Gurub back then. So you make your way through here, and then we have to deal with the Tiki Lords. Which my Shadow Word Pain still immediately just one-shots. Gosh. I was really hoping to try and avoid one-shotting these things. But I guess I just don't have... You know what I'm going to have to do? Just take some gear off. Like, let's get rid of my weapon. Maybe that'll help. I don't know. So it drops me down to 366. Okay. Let's get rid of my heart. 338. Okay, that's still one-shot him. That's still one-shot him. Oh, gosh. Okay, let's get rid of this stuff. Let's see how this is gonna go. All right, let's set out on this Venomancer here. Nope, still one shot. I guess when you're 120, it's not gonna really matter that much, unfortunately. So, because it looks like he's got 350,000 health. So I would think. I mean, he only does 3,000 damage. I don't know. Because I really want to show off some of these boss fights, because I looked up how they worked, and they were pretty interesting. So, let me get back to, alright, back to the guide here. So, here's a familiar name. High Priest Vanoxus. Originally sent to kill Hakkar, Vanoxus became enslaved to the murderous entity before falling to Azeroth's heroes. Through the efforts of the Soulflayer's agents, Vanoxus has been ripped from the spirit world and ordered to defend Zul'Gurub with his venomous serpentine minions.
You disturb the plans of Gurubashi, little one. It's too late for you. Too late for all of you. Yes.
So this is what I'm talking about in terms of the change visuals. Now, maybe this is just my graphics settings. I honestly don't know, but there's supposed to be a maze here of, like, green toxin. Can you see that? It's barely there. Like, I'm standing on it right now, and you can even see I'm taking poison damage. Like, you can see it, but I guess my graphics settings just make it harder to see. I don't know. I don't know why it doesn't look as, visually obvious as it did back in Cataclysm. Because I've looked it up, and it was very obvious. So the idea here is that poison goes around like a maze. You have to avoid standing on it. And he's just going to be constantly pelting you with this toxin and poison. He turns into that thing there. Remember, these are supposed to be like avatars of other Loa.
It's me. My blood is venom, and you will pay.
So now you have to avoid getting hit by that, because that could basically kill you. So you're like, ah! And so then he gets tired for like a handful of seconds here, and then this is when you try to actually... So that's basically the idea. I don't know why it's like all of a sudden you can't really even see that, because if that was the where you had to actually visually see that stuff, and it's because, well, you're apparently like it like the graphics are just like too good, or maybe, I don't know, maybe there's a certain setting that changes it. I really don't know. But that's basically how that fight's supposed to go. So this is an interesting little portion right here. Morlek, the Dismantler. Here's one of those mini-bosses that I mentioned. He's part of this quest also. He is basically completely defiling the temple that was here to honor Hakkar. Which kind of goes to show that a lot, there's a mixture of, well, actually it's mainly Zandalari forces that are here, compared to Gurubashi forces, but it just goes to show that the Zandalar just they don't really care or respect Hakkar. They're just like, yeah, whatever, let's just bind his power to our will and control. To the point where they're just like, yeah, just go and dismantle this temple, we don't care. Who cares about Hakkar? It's not like we actually have to care about him or fear him or anything.
I need to get closer.
So there are some Gurubashi workers, but like I said, a huge portion of this is basically supported by the Zandalar. So this is also an interesting little encounter here. This is another kind of mini-boss where she's basically, she is working on changing them into avatars of Hethys. So whereas that guy was basically, using the power of that venomous snake. Yeah, well, just watch. Sacrifice your bodies to Hethys, my brothers. The voodoo will protect you. So you'll notice, and the idea here back then was that this was really hard, and you're like, quick, kill as many enemies as you can, because once that thing is done ticking, blessing of the snake god, once that thing is done, they become venomous cobras. Yeah. doing lots of damage. I heard this was pretty rough. I am kind of realizing, oh wait, yeah, this is gonna be a little rough not having a whole bunch of AoE damage basically. But I can just spam Shadow Word Pain on it. Okay, so apparently, you know, my idea of, hey, let me, you know, maybe Discipline won't do that much damage. Yeah, apparently not, so. I don't know, maybe if I switch to Holy. Or maybe if I, let's see. Maybe if I take off more gear. Get rid of that. I'm down to 157. Alright. So now we make our way up here. And this is fun. Avoid the rocks. Berserking Boulder Roller. So if you want the rocks to stop, you gotta make sure you get to him and then take him down. So of course, Holy does have Smite. Still one-shot him. So this was interesting because you had this cauldron here to help deal with the trash in this area. Your next ability will freeze the target. So it's not working. Gosh, I really am going to have to just be like... I really am going to one-shot everything in here, aren't I? Yeah. See, the unfortunate thing is that only certain mechanics will actually, you know, happen once you actually reduce them to a certain amount of health, which is what I'm trying to do. Ugh. That's why I'm trying to just, like, constantly remove, you know, gear to make it where I'm not so strong. So, let's see. Let's get rid of the gloves. Let's get rid of the headpiece. The shoulders. So how much damage does this do now? Only 2,000. Still one-shotting these guys. Behold, holy priests that can go in and one-shot everything. So, I found out that apparently back when this was like, you know, when Cataclysm was current content and this went on the PTR, this dungeon, you could actually use these formulas, which did like half damage to the trash here. You could actually use this to like two-shot this boss. Total Biscuit even showed this in his video when he was looking at it in the PTR back then. If it's still up on YouTube if you want to check it out. Rest in peace, Total Biscuit. So, this is another familiar name from Vanilla Zul'Gurub. This is Bloodlord Mandokir, though as I pointed out to you in the text that I read earlier, this is not actually his body. This is simply his spirit inhabiting the body of his former friend. The infamous Bloodlord Mandokir died a torturous death before Bloodscalp trolls desecrated his body years ago. Word has now spread that Mandokir walks the jungles of Stranglethorn yet again, using the corpse of the mighty Bloodscalp chieftain Ganzula as a host for his malevolent spirit. Yeah. So this is Mandokir in Ganzula's body. By the way, this is one of the bosses in here that drops a mount, which I have. In fact, I'll go ahead and pull it out and show it to you right here. Haha! This is the mount that drops from this boss. I got it on my 50th attempt. Yeah, pretty nice. I mean, yes, it is a recoloring of the mounts you can get if you're a Darkspear troll that they have, but it's still cool looking. It's still a raptor mount, which I like. There is another mount you can still get in here, which I still haven't gotten, but we'll get to that in a bit. So, oh gosh. What What to do, what to do, what to do. Let me get rid of these. Down to 51. Gosh, I do not want to take off the pants on the robe. Because I'm a female blood elf. I do not want to do that. I want to have some decency. So, anyways.
Make peace, worms. I'd be delivering you to Hakkar myself.
So the way this fight works is interesting. You'll notice there are these spirits that are around the arena. So he has a mechanic where he will just charge you and just kill you. Like, there's no way around it. He just insta-kills you. There's just no other way around that. Alright, let's test this out.
Get him, Morgan.
So he will get off his mount and send his mount to go kill the spirits. Because every time you die to that mechanic, a spirit will leave being chained and automatically res you. But you'll notice there's only so many spirits around the arena. So the mount will go around, you know, his mount will go around and try to eat as many of the spirits as it can to reduce the amount of times you can get res from that mechanic. So that's why the moment you're like, oh, but you killed him. Yeah, he's going to res him in a matter of seconds here. Yeah. Reanimated. So he gets reanimated. So now it's like, attack it! Attack it! Quick, quick, quick! Yeah. See? So now that spirit is gone. So they're supposed to, yeah, I can't show it off because I'm the only one here, so he won't do it. There's also another mechanic he's supposed to do where he, like, has the ground, like, come up and just, like, do a ton of damage, but I guess I only can do it if I'm able to actually get his health down to a percentage, but as you can see, I'm kind of struggling with that.
Hakkar, my soul feeds Jindo.
Metasome insects. Now you will feel my wrath.
Yeah. So, unfortunately, it looks like there's just no way I can kind of get around this, so... Just put everything back on. And then, let's just go ahead and switch to Shadow. It's not going to happen, so whatever. Shadow form. And then the mount that I thought would go perfect with the Shadow Priest. My new Voidwing mount. Alright, so here is the other area this is the optional area, the Cache of Madness I mentioned. So you can talk to this guy to get an idea. This is Zanza the Restless. Oh, you don't want to be going up this way, man. The spirits be restless. Maybe if you know a thing or two about ancient artifacts, you can find a way to put them to rest. So this is what I'm talking about. So there's a bunch of tiki masks that are here. Here's the ancient dwarven artifact. And there are some, like, little, well, some troll corpses around the room. But some other stuff that you can be able to look at. Like an ancient fossil right over here that you can be able to be like, hey, you know. Now, I do not have archaeology. Actually, I do. Hold on a second. Hold on. Hold on. Give me just a moment here. Because I tried this earlier, it didn't work. Yeah, you can't use that here. You see what I'm saying? So, it's like I have Draenor archaeology because apparently I didn't level it up in BFA. So I'm like with the fossil stuff here, and it's like, nope, you cannot use that because you have to have it leveled up. But the idea is that you go here and use archaeology to dig up the stuff, which is then going to cause stuff to circle around the room and do the ritual, and then it summons one of the 4 optional bosses. So, that's how it's supposed to work, but sadly I can't show it off to you. So we'll just continue as normal. So yeah, this is kind of an Indiana Jones thing where you had to avoid getting hit by those things. Obviously, as you can tell, it doesn't even hurt me. So then you'll find some other optional stuff around here. I like how it's like, hey, he speaks Zandalai. And I find myself wondering, What if I brought my Zandalari Troll here? Now, he's only level 60, so I can't bring him here. Otherwise, I would have brought him here for this. But I find myself wondering, if I bring my Zandalari Troll here, will I actually see the translated text there? Like, will Blizzard have actually done that? Like, made that change, just to kind of fit with what's going on here. So here's another one of the optional bosses here. It's just a Voidwalker. And there's really nothing to him, mechanics-wise. Not really. He just tells people to climb up there to go see one of those Zandalari Hierophants. So. Like, seriously, there's no mechanics to that boss at all. Even some of the videos and guides I was looking at of people who were talking about this dungeon were like, yeah, he doesn't have any mechanics. Now, there is a funny little optional boss in here that you could actually get as one of those mini-bosses. Here he is. Behold, the Gurubashi Master Chef, who hits you with powerful abilities like slap and chop. And fish slap. And throws meat at you.
I don't have a target.
Like, seriously, it's actually kind of funny. People consider this a kind of a tougher boss than the Voidwalker. So you get the groceries for the Master Chef, and it's giant turtle tongues. So crafting stuff. There's also another optional, like, elite right over here that who's a mini boss that you can be able to get fishing stuff. So from here you can see the temple. This is the temple that they were trying to point out to you through all those trees over there. So you can see there's elites. There's Jindo. And there's some kind of shadowy image right there. It's hard to see. I wonder what that could be. Well, I'm sure it's nothing. So here's the Temple of Bethic. Because remember, High Priestess Beth... Yeah. Well, actually, no. Bethic is the Panther Loa. And one of the priestesses that we fought back in Vanilla was the priestess who served Bethic. So... Yeah. By the way, I probably should also... check, since I can't show it to you, I may as well read this. Among the hateful spirits in the Cache of Madness are Grilek, a dire troll stripped of his regenerative abilities by the Loa; Rentaki, an infamous and sadistic warrior; Hazra, a seer tormented by dire future visions; and Wusale, a mighty combatant bristling with the powers of the storms. But the person we're about to fight here, we'll get to that in a second. I've heard the trash in here was ridiculous. Like these panthers you can see with their eyes. The pride of Bethic. I believe you can come in here and tame these as a hunter if you want some panther pets. Gurubashi shadow hunters. But yeah, people have said that the trash in this area was like, oh, such a pain. Like lots and lots of See, this is one of the reasons why I love having Xalatath around as a transmog on my Shadow Priest. Just because she'll just have those random whispers. Boring. So yeah, Blood Drinkers and Lesser Priest of Bethic. Oh, hey. A BOE. By the way, you'll notice some of these temple rats are around. Yeah, that actually has to do with this thing down here that you could actually do, which actually has to do with an achievement that you can get, which I believe is like feeding the rats to the panthers in here, because you'll notice you can actually loot these temple rats, because the idea is you're going to come in here, and this is the boss we face. High Priestess Kilnara. When High Priestess Arlok was killed, the Panther Loa, Bethic, chose her sister, Kilnara, as her new mortal champion. Supporting the recent pact between the Gurubashi and Zandalar tribes, Kilnara has unleashed her savage panther minions on the region's unsuspecting denizens. The thing is, though, Kilnara... Well, I'll let her say.
No, no! Get out! Leave me here with the memory of my sister.
Interrupt.
Tears of blood. So yeah, she's not exactly enthusiastic about this. She just, wants to mourn and remember her sister. And I feel so bad for her. You notice just now one of her abilities was Tears of Blood. Yeah. By the way, the Panthers are right over here. And if you get her down to 50%, obviously I'm not going to be able to show this to you because of the fact that I'm just one-shotting everything in here. But if you get her down to 50%, she will then have her body taken over and possessed by Bethic herself. And then brings all these Panthers to attack you. So, yeah.
This body is useless.
Alright. Come on. Mount. Mount. No. So I mentioned I got the mount from Mandokir. However, I still have not gotten the mount from Kilnara here. If you are curious, it is this mount right here. The Swift Zulian Panther. That was attempt number 159 on this mount. So... Now, what's funny is recently Blizzard announced that they actually upped the drop rate of this mount. Yet I still haven't gotten it. So... oh well. It's a heroic dungeon instead of a raid, so if I wanted to, I could just bring characters here every day, and I have multiple max level ones that could just come here and easily one-shot it, which I, have done before, and I was doing that as I was also farming the Mount of Karazhan, since Karazhan is literally right next to Zul'Gurub. So, anyways. I guess I'll just have to try again later. And if you're curious, usually the drop rate's like, I think, 2%, 1%, something like that. But if they apparently up the drop rate, it should be a little higher than that. But I'll have to wait and see. So, anyways. Apparently I missed an optional boss over there. Huh. Well, maybe I'll have to head back and take a look at it and take it down. So look at all the trash that's right here. Yeah. A lot of nasty trash right here. By the way, right over here, this is usually the bridge that you would take after you defeat the fourth Guardian right over there, but we'll get to that in a bit. Right here is that other mini-boss I was talking about. Gub, the Destroyer of Fish. Yeah, I usually run past him every time I come in here these days, because once you get that first Raptor mount, you just kind of beeline straight for Kilnara, and just try your luck at the Panther mount. So now we're getting introduced to what is going to be the next portion here, which has to do with these cauldrons and a lot of undead mind slaves. Yeah. So... So, watch what these guys do. Fixate! They are fixating you! Yeah, if those things reached you, they could basically one-shot you back in the day. So, this area is kind of messed up. So let me read about this guy first. Zanzil! Exiled from the Skull Splitter tribe for turning his fellow trolls into mindless slaves, Zanzil was recently offered a place among the Gurubashi by Jindo, the Godbreaker, in exchange for bolstering Zul'Gurub's forces. It is well known that his toxic elixirs can even rouse the dead from their graves. So, yeah. Take a look around this room. Yeah. This place is messed up, is my point. This is like his little playground with all these corpses to work on his cauldrons and potions and his voodoo magics, and yeah. These cauldrons are also actually kind of relevant to the fight, as different cauldrons will give you different buffs to counter certain mechanics. Like when he summons a bunch of mind slaves, you use this Cauldron of Burning Blood here to give yourself kind of a fire AoE buff to kind of like instantly take them down. There's also a mechanic where he will summon a huge amount of green poison smoke, and you gotta drink the green Cauldron Toxic Torment, which you've encountered earlier in the you know, at the the dungeon's entrance, to kind of counter the amount of damage it does to you. So.
What? You've come to laugh at Zanzir too? Not again! I'll make you pay.
Sure. Zanzil, sure. You are a terrible shot.
Go, little man! Fight them! Kill them!
Watch your feet.
So let me see if I can show this to you. Burning Blood. Deals fire damage to self and nearby enemies.
Oh, who needs friends? Zanzir just makes his own!
Okay, I hope you get the idea. And you use that to counter that big berserker guy.
Breathe deep, friends! Breathe it all in!
Yeah. This is what I'm talking about.
Suffer for this! Zul'Gurub is nothing without... That... Oh...
Sure. So, all 4 Guardians of Jindo are down, which means he is now vulnerable. It's time to go put a stop to his plot. And this is something I find kind of hilarious, because it never works. They keep trying to do this thing of, you know what, let's just kill the Loa and take their power for ourselves. Yeah, as we're gonna see here in just a bit, that's never a good idea. I'll show you what I mean after we take down Jindo. So you'll see there's some Zandalari Juggernauts, a Hierophant, Zandalari people here that are trying to basically guard and protect Jindo while he works on this. Also, you gotta make sure you take down these Spirit Warriors here, because it's kind of important to the upcoming fight. It's basically undoable without being able to do this, because you kind of need them available. You can see the spirits are right there. And I'm pretty sure their spirits would not be there if you didn't actually take these things down out here in the physical mortal realm. Take them down, then their spirits will be there. Because the spirit realm is going to be very important in this upcoming fight. Here's this image again. And there he is. There's Hakkar. Basically the same model that he had back in Vanilla. So you'll notice, and there's Jindo, he keeps doing this thing called, that is going to be labeled in just a moment here, it'll show, Drain Life Essence, or Drain Spirit Essence, excuse me. He's basically just constantly draining the essence of Hakkar's spirit, trying to basically absorb his power into him. Yeah. After his defeat in Zul'Gurub, Jindo's spirit was tormented by his failure to serve Hakkar's wishes. Jindo recently found a way back into the world and enslaved the Soul Flare. Bristling with the Dread God's terrible powers, Jindo plans to restore the Gurubashi Empire to its former glory. So, there's a couple of stages here. I'm not going to be able to properly show it off because obviously, as I've been showing, it's a little hard for me to not one-shot everything in here. So the first mechanic he's going to have is he's going to fight us, Jindo I mean, and he's going to put up this shield that reduces magical damage. And then he does a big magical AoE attack, so everybody in the group has to get inside the shield, otherwise they take lots of damage. That's stage 1. Stage 2 is where this gets interesting.
Welcome to the great show, friends. Just wait till you see what I got in store for ya.
Shadows of Hakkar. There it is. Dead Zone. So yeah, magic damage taken is reduced by 90%, and casting speed is reduced by 90%. Yeah, Shadows of Hakkar. It does a lot of damage. So that's why you had to get inside the shield to protect yourself from it. Huh. While that shield is up, it may actually allow me to be able to actually not one-shot this guy. That's funny.
Now, have a taste of Jindo's true.
Your deceit is unforgivable, Jindo. You spit in the face of a god.
So, yeah, now we're in the spirit world, where you can see Jindo is back there, basically using the power of Hakkar for himself, and Hakkar is completely chained here, which is basically preventing him from being able to really do anything. By the way, I just want to also, really take a moment to show you guys Hakkar's model here. He doesn't have any legs. He's basically a big serpent. He doesn't really have hands, just two big, like, I don't know what you would call those, like mandibles or whatever. He's got also, like those type of wings there. Yeah. He also has a big gaping hole in his chest and waist area there. Like I said, Hakkar is messed up in multiple ways. So this is where things get tricky, because you can't really just attack these chains because they have a shield on them that basically makes them invulnerable. However, it says a bristle barrier that is protected from all spells and barriers and all attacks and spells. It's vulnerable to body slams from large, heavy troll-like objects. AKA, go get the Gurubashi spirits over here and have them do a big body slam attack in order to to destroy the shields, so that you can then destroy the chains. Because you can't destroy the chains until the shield goes down. So you have to stand here, and you have to try to hold these guys here, and then they do this body slam thing right there, and then that destroys the shield, which lets you destroy the chain. Notice every time we get rid of a chain, Hakkar laughs, because what we're doing is we are now freeing Hakkar, which is kind of a stupid idea, but at the same time, we're trying to stop Jindo here. Not necessarily Hakkar. We did that in vanilla. So right now, our main focus is to stop Jindo. And in order to do that, we have to free Hakkar. I'm just saying, this is something that could come back to haunt us in the future. This decision right here. Now, hopefully it will show the entire cutscene here. If it doesn't, though, I know what happens, so I'll be able to fill you in.
sex. I will deal with you another time.
So, unfortunately, it doesn't really show the entire cutscene. Of course, I get the two-handed mace. And I don't get the cloth mask, which is what I really wanted, which is part of the reason I did it with this character. So, the cutscene that's supposed to play there, it's not necessarily a full cutscene, but it just kind of, like, skipped over itself, where you free him, you saw he got bigger because we freed him from the chains, so he said, "You overstepped your bounds, Jindo, you toy with powers that are beyond you. Have you forgotten who I am? Have you forgotten what I can do?" And then we hear Jindo go, "No! No!" And then we cut back to the physical world, and he's here. And he is now Jindo the Broken. And he is screwed forever. Because he is going to regret this for the rest of eternity. Because you don't want to know what Hakkar has probably done to his soul during this time. And he's not thankful or anything. This is Hakkar. He doesn't care. He probably wants to kill us just as bad. Probably for what we did to him in vanilla. So he just said, "Be freed, insects. I will deal with you another time." Pretty much the only other one who's ever called us insects like that was Ragnaros. And he wasn't too fond of us either. And so we have not heard from Hakkar since then. I'll be honest, I actually was expecting to hear something about Hakkar during BFA, considering the amount of stuff we had with the Loa in BFA. But, considering that we are heading to the Shadowlands, I would not be surprised in the least if we do end up meeting meeting Hakkar again. I don't know how that's going to go down and what that's going to be like, how much of a role that Hakkar would actually play if that ends up being the case. Because this is Hakkar. One of the most powerful and evil Loa we've ever encountered. This may have been one of the worst things we could have done, but we kind of didn't have a choice, because Jindo using Hakkar's power to help the Gurubashi and the Zandalar would have been a disaster. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. But that is Zul'Gurub. So for context, back in vanilla, you would make your way up this ramp. Like I said, the layout of this place is basically the same. Like the physical layout. Because you would have to come up here, up the walkway, up these stairs, in order to get here, which is where Hakkar himself used to be in his full physical form back in the vanilla 20-man raid version of this place. Whereas here, it's basically just we face Jindo, who's trying to absorb Hakkar's power, and, well, you saw what happened. So that is Zul'Gurub, and, yeah. So, very quickly before we end this, let's go, because we did the quest to defeat Jindo. So why don't we, actually, let's go see if we can do this real quick, before we turn it in. Take that, Gub. You're always down here in my way. By the way, there's another optional boss, or not boss, but mini-boss. That right there. That is Tortun, the Slumberer, who's like just a big turtle. So let's see. Around this way, and then turn here. By the way, what's great is when you leave the instance, you can fly over this, up top, just to look at the layout of this place. It's pretty cool. It's something I do whenever I fly from Karazhan here, when I was doing my mount runs to do, so there he is. To do the mount runs where I first did the Fiery Warhorse and then came here for the Panther. So. Alright, now let's go turn in these quests. it would be kind of funny, but also probably kind of horrible if we actually end up running into Jindo in the Shadowlands. I say funny because it'd be like, oh, this is what happened to you. But at the same time, I have a feeling I don't want to see what happened to him because, well, it could be a very horrible, ugly sight. Like, let me put it this way. For those of you who have perhaps watched Game of Thrones and are familiar with the character of Ramsay Snow, I would compare Hakkar to Ramsay Snow. In the sense that they both enjoy flaying people alive.
How you doing, man?
Yeah. Jindo's empire crumbles around him like the ruins of this forsaken city.
Yeah, how are ya?
It be done then. Spilling the blood of our brothers be a grim task. The city of the Gurubashi has seen only death and hatred for years. Maybe it be time for the jungle to retake Zul'Gurub and wash the scent of death from this place. Blood and honor, champion. To this Siamakuashi, you will always be known as Bloodslayer.
Bye-bye now.
So like I said, that is Zul'Gurub. So, as far as the rest of this series, because I've mentioned it, it's like, well, I did all this stuff and done everything else. However, I think it may be time to finally head on over to one of the more controversial expansions of all time. Warlords of Draenor. I'll have a lot to say about that. I'll see you guys then.